Deathbringer here. Subscribe so you never miss an upload.
First, a word from our sponsor, the Merry Mushman, the studio that brought you folklore bestiary. Blacksword Hack and Knock presents Nightmare Over Ragged Hollow, an adventure module for levels 1 to 2, fully compatible with BX, OSE, Shadow Dark, or Deathbringer. 80 pages of adventure with a fold-out screen cover just like the good old days. Nightmare is a sandbox with a deadly countdown featuring a village, 3 hexagons to explore, 3 mini dungeons, and 1 50-room dungeon. I love the layout. Stat blocks are shaded, main points and dialogue are bulleted. This is how modules should look. This is a short campaign, 15 days only, and it ships in August, so act fast by clicking the link below. Independent Games Month continues with my favorite zines, today on Dungeon Craft.
Deathbringer here. Subscribe so you never miss an upload.
Welcome to Dungeon Craft. I'm Professor Dungeon Master, and this is the home of independent and homebrew TTRPGs. Today, we're taking a look at my favorite zines. If you don't know, back in the 70s, when Dungeons & Dragons was new, fans published zines, and it was a way to share their favorite homebrew rules, classes, spells, and monsters with the rest of the community. And these zines are carrying on that tradition. Full disclosure, I received courtesy copies of 2 of these zines from the publisher, but that doesn't guarantee you a review. And the first one, Cursed Scroll, I didn't receive at all. I'm going to receive a physical copy because I backed Shadow Dark on Kickstarter. And with that in mind, let's take a look at Cursed Scroll. Cursed Scroll is designed for the Shadow Dark RPG and is currently available in PDF from Arcane Library, but physical copies, I believe, ship in August with the game if you backed it on Kickstarter. Each issue contains new classes like the Knight of St. Yidris or the Desert Rider, new spells, new monster stat blocks, and a module. This is the ruins of Bittermold Keep. The art is outstanding, as you can see. Check out the layout, how the main points are bulleted. That is how all modules should be designed. There is no wasted space. Even the back cover has a random chart for searching dead bandits. Issue 2 contains the module Fortress of the Burning Brothers, levels 4 to 6, and even if you don't play Shadow Dark, the armor class and hit points and stat blocks are compatible with BX, D&D, OSE, or any retro clone. Now let's take a look at our physical zines. So today we're going to look at Delver and Knock, and I have the first 3 issues of each. Full disclosure, Delver is published by my friend Jim, the tabletop engineer, and I got these copies for free. Knock is published by the Merry Mushman. They pretty much send me everything they produce, for which I'm extremely grateful. Let's take a look at Delver first. Each issue of Delver is pamphlet size, slick pages, about 40 pages total. It's by James Floyd Kelly, the tabletop engineer, link to his channel below. And on the inside covers, we have a map for a dungeon. So each of these issues will contain random charts, like this is for creating an ogre on the spot. This is for smelling something in the dungeon. This is a handout along with a recipe for aging the paper. Charts for weather, skeletons you might find in a dungeon, shady characters you might find in a tavern, and the modules. And this is presented old school style with very minimal descriptions, which is, in my opinion, a good thing. In the center we have some postcards. This is the map of the dungeon on it, which is very useful. And this is a menu for the Dented Helm Tavern. I love this handout. It's a menu on the back, and you can see the rabbit stew costs 5 silver pieces. And you can just hand this to your players. I love this. All the special attacks are bulleted here for you. It comes with handouts. We have a chart for creating a random nemesis fighter for your player characters, strange statues, a wanted poster, random clerics, an auction house, and that figure in the corner. Issue number 2 follows the same format. We got the maps on the inside cover. This is Curse of the Goblin Vault. This is awesome. It's a hex crawl. You can randomly determine the entire area with these charts. This chart creates the lore behind a dungeon, unusual fountains, building a brigand, magic user allies, apothecaries, more wanted posters, what's in the gelatinous cube. Issue 3, this dungeon's called We Don't Go There. Thief's Night Out, you could use this to create an adventure on the spot. Unusual swords, unusual shields. A thief nemesis for the player characters. A random lone explorer from their names to their entire personalities and their secrets. Another new hex design chart where you can quickly generate a home base and everything around it. Different types of poisons, barbarians, this is great stuff. Delver is super utilitarian and practical. You can open these up and use them right away. It's designed for old school essentials, but you can use it with Shadow Dark, Deathbringer, Knave, or any retro clone. Okay, let's take a look at Knock from the Merry Mushman. Whereas Delver's layout is very utilitarian, Knock's layout is highly stylized with bright colors and different fonts, very reminiscent of Merc Bori. The cover folds out and you have an entire dungeon here with the map here. That is super practical, and it comes with little standees. And this is how many articles a typical issue will have. And they range from the philosophical, this is what I want in an OSR game, a comparison with old and new D&D, to discussing monster design like the Lich, the pros and cons of energy drains, to randomized gear. You can see I have a bookmark here. To the backstory of the village's local retired adventurer. Checklists for creating dungeons. Super cool art. Articles on alternative rules. This is an alternative hit dice system. How to create gunpowder weapons. How to make your goblins unique. The danger of skills. I love this article. I return to this one again and again. History lessons, like what happened in 1266. Tips for livening up corridors. Traps. 8 variants of the Caves of Chaos. Like, how awesome is this? The Sewers of Mystery. This is an entire sewer system with geomorphs. A dungeon they start for you and you can complete. And look at these maps, they're just incredible. So much information in these few pages, and these maps are outstanding. Tons of useful stuff. Issue 2, and there's so many great articles, I can only touch the tip of the iceberg. Cheap Dungeon Master tricks. Random night generators, sorcerer corpse hazards, random item, random rival adventuring parties. Here's an article called If Failure Isn't Interesting, Skip It, that references some guy called Professor Dungeon Master. I think I saw him once or twice. That guy's a drunk, but the article is great. Not everyone's going to like the format and the differing fonts, but I personally find it really interesting. Like the colors and the different styles of art and layout help me remember things. What is the gelatinous cube doing? Or complete the encounters, hex crawling, spell fixes, alternative species and classes like the platyperson and the beggar and the prophet of ruin. So cool. Another dungeon, this one's called the Rot King Sanctum. Look at the layout. You got the random encounters, the map, and minimalist descriptions with bullet points that point out the key information. And each part of the map is repeated on the page. This is awesome. This is the way to design a dungeon. No flipping. Issue 3, another dungeon on the inside cover. Advice on creating your campaign and stories. I cut the body open. Random encounters in the woods. Different types of fungi. Random domains. Tips on domain level play. D100 items for problem solving. Hooks for starting an adventure in a tavern, and more maps. So cool. This is one of the coolest things I've seen. It is a help wanted classified section, so you can present these hooks to your players. Each issue of Knock is about 200 pages packed with useful practical stuff, written for an adult audience. No patronizing over explanations, just solid content. And when you read Knock, you realize how much of the mass-produced corporate stuff is fluff, padding, and IP lore. Curse, Scroll, Delver, and Knock are so much better than anything produced by that giant corporation. It kills me that people don't know this stuff exists. That's why the mission of this channel is to bring attention to these great independent products. You can get Cursed Scroll, Delver, and Knock at the links below, and get extra content by joining Dungeon Craft Patreon. Links to my Deathbringer game below as well. But do yourself a favor and check out Cursed Scroll, Delver, and Knock. Buy good games from good people. I'll see you next time, and may all your rolls be 20s.